Our intention has never been one to deprive the community of a library. Our feeling was that what was done to Kanawha County and to the other 9 counties, I believe, was discriminatory, prejudiced, and not fair. And that being the case, as a sworn representative of the public on the Kanawha County Schools, I and others felt that it's our duty to pursue avenues to ensure that the Constitution, as it applies to every county, it applies to us as well. And so that's the genesis of how this journey started. As those who have been involved in following this over the years, there have been the traditional movement of a snail's pace to get to the end, and that eventually the Supreme Court did make a ruling, and even though it took 10 years to get there, it sort of shocked everybody when it happened. I'm a firm believer that we are elected as a representative of the people and have a duty and a responsibility to see that the public interest is served. Not necessarily just the public interest of Kanawha County Schools per se, but the public interest in general as it applies to issues that affect the school and issues of concern to the community. And with that in mind, I asked Mr. Thaw that we need to have an opportunity, now that the Supreme Court has ruled, to maybe discuss among ourselves where we go in a transitionary way to go from where we were to where we need to be at some point in time, to ensure that what the public wants, the public gets, and that the funding mechanism for the library is something that they can count on, not just some way of getting over this hump through some voluntary contribution from a board that could change with the next board.
Let me make a few comments, and I'll talk a little history maybe, and I'm sure you've heard it before, but I think it points out the close and quite frankly very strong relationship that's existed between the Kanawha County Public Library and the Kanawha County Board of Education. The KCPL was established in 1909 by the efforts of the Women's Kanawha Literary Club, and the tax support that provided that support is in 1913 was from the Charleston Independent School District, which was the predecessor of the Kanawha County Board of Education. At that time, the Kanawha County Board of Education was responsible for the funding of the library to the tune of 100%. And that continued until 1957, when, as a joint effort, the Board of Education and the library went to the legislature and passed what we have been referring to as the 57 Act. And under that act, the funding was provided on a basis of 40% from the Kanawha County Board of Education, 40% from the Kanawha County Commission, and 20% from the City of Charleston. The Board of Education was relieved of being the sole funder, but nonetheless, the Board of Education continued as the sort of the bookie, it's a tough way to say it, but the fiscal agent, that's a more accurate description, for the library. Our employees, in essence, became employees in a sort of the Board of Education. The board, the Kanawha County Board of Education, approves the selections to our board. By and large, that's worked well. The Kanawha County Kanawha County Public Library has been intimately and extensively involved in the education of the students of Kanawha County. We have Riverside, which is located in a school, Sissonville, which is located adjacent to the school and purchased that property from the school system. And the same with Cross Lanes. The facility is located virtually adjacent to the Cross Lanes Elementary. 43 schools have libraries whose holdings are on the Kanawha County Public Library's computers catalog. It was intended as a seamless way of information between the students and the library, and it's worked well. Whether it's been in formal education or in K through 12, or whether people are pursuing life educations. We have 50,000 books that we supply to supplemental school libraries and fill the needs of the teachers of Kanawha County who ask for these collections in their classrooms. We have a new Kanawha County Public Library mobile library that services 7 schools and other stops around the county. We have purchased over the years and continue to purchase costly online work that is specifically dedicated to the student population. We provide a tutoring service. I don't know if any of you have ever had the chance to look at it. Live Homework Help. It's an interactive, one-on-one arrangement whereby students can dial up and get help on specific subjects, math, English, history, whatever. We focus many of our efforts, or much of our effort, on programming from the children at birth through age 3. The early learning, early literacy is an important part of what we do. We know that helps the schools. It helps bring children into the classroom that have the ability to at least the skills to begin to function as readers. The partnership between the Kanawha County Board of Education and the Kanawha County Public Library has been a terrific benefit to the children, the students, and quite frankly, the adult population. We understand the concerns that brought the Kanawha County Board of Education to litigate the funding. We continue to believe and hope that the interests of all of us are best served by leaving the close arrangement between the Board of Education and the Kanawha County Public Library intact. And we hope we can work with the Kanawha County Board of Education to establish a continuing and going forward long-range arrangement so that we can continue both Kanawha County Board of Education and the Kanawha County Public Library serving the education needs of the students of Kanawha County.
Mr. Albert, what is your annual budget every year?
It's about $8 million roughly. About 2.8 from the Board of Education, another 2.8 from Kanawha County Commission.
3.2.
I'm sorry.
3.3.
Okay, 3.2, and then about 800,000 or 900,000 from the city of Charleston.
I value the library services that it not only provides to our schools, but for our community. I think that we're in a current fiscal year where we plan to meet your needs this particular year, and I personally think we should honor that. How we go forward from there, I think, is where we start with a lot of discussion, and that we look at recommendations that have been provided to us from various sources, and of course we have to look at what we can afford, because we're like every other community agency in this valley. We're strapped and hurting for dollars as well.
If you'll check my voting record, I've always voted in favor of the library. But I am glad to see that you and your board is interested in sitting down with this board or a representative of this board and try to work out an amicable decision where everybody can be funded.
I've been on the board 15 years.
Yes, sir.
This is the second time that we've gone to the Supreme Court.
I understand.
This is the second time we've won. You're going to ask what happened the first time.
No, sir. I was president of Kanawha County.
Well, then you'll remember the legislators
I do indeed.
coming in here and making all sorts of rash promises, none of which they kept. You remember that? That was That was $18 million ago. They came in and said, please, keep funding the board and we'll take care of it. And the vote was 4-1, and we did it. And that was $18,822,000 ago that we have spent, that we have sent to you, waiting for them to do, and they've done nothing. So we finally had to go back to court, and we won again. And again, there's a reluctance to. We have financial problems here, Mr. Albert. We have, by Mr. Ragland's account, we're going to be $4.2 million in deficit in the year 2014. Now, here's the situation. We can make it, but we cannot make it giving you $250,000 the first of every month. We can't do it. And we just can't do it. We can't make our obligations. We built 2 schools in this last couple of years. We haven't had any bond issue. You look at your tax ticket, there's no bond on there. And we can't do it. And we've run, and I'm proud of it, a capped excess levy. We're not going to take any more. We cannot afford to be giving away $3 million a year, just handing it to you, because we can't meet our obligations.
Mr. Thaw, would you say that that is...
Could you let me finish, Mrs. Rector? I let you finish.
I'm sorry, I thought you had stopped.
We need your understanding about our situation. And believe it or not, everyone knows my position. No hidden agenda here. I am not unsympathetic to the public library situation. However, it is not the responsibility of this board to alleviate your financial problems. The courts have twice said we didn't have to do this. We need to help you until you can get your own funding straightened out. And I think your funding stream should straighten out with the legislature. That's just one person's opinion. However, I do think that the Kanawha County Board of Education can and should take some steps to alleviate your situation today. The public library, we should immediately take some steps to alleviate your situation at Riverside. You're spending money up there that is our responsibility. And we should take steps to remedy that. We should take that over and remedy that and relieve you of that responsibility. By your own admission, you've got $18 million that you've raised to build a new library. That's another story. You could use that money on a temporary basis as you work with the legislature. I really believe the legislature has a responsibility and the means to fund you. Not only you, but the libraries throughout the state. They've got the means to do it. They don't want to. That's how we ended up with the Act of '57. That was a handoff. You know what that was. Now, our situation is we have spent $270,911 in legal fees on 2 court cases against you. We've won both of them. And each time people want us to walk away after we win. And I am adamantly opposed to walking away from this one. Now, I'm willing to work with you, but I'm not willing to stick it to the taxpayers again. And that's what we're doing. Right now, we've cost them $18 million just because of the taking the promise from the legislature.
With respect to the money that is raised for the purposes of possibly constructing another, a main library, that money is held by the foundation and is held as in a constructive trust for that purpose. I don't think that money can be used for purposes of funding the library. In any event, we are more than prepared to sit down with anybody you designate to see if there is a way to work out the kinds of relief that both of us want. I guess I get just a little concerned that we come across sounding like, you know, this has been a one-way street with all money flowing to us. The fact of the matter is, as I said here, we've been an arm, an ancillary, if you will, of the Board of Education in our efforts. It's a very close relationship. You appoint our directors, you do our accounting, and you know, you make it sound like, well, all the money just flows to us. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're going to sit down and look very closely at what, and this is the part I think where there can be some productive discussions with the board, and that is, to what extent are there activities of the Kanawha County Board of Education that we in fact fund and that we in fact pay for?
It was a point of order or a common grammar police that I would just respectfully ask Mr. Thaw that we use the pronouns I and we. I want to make sure that when you are using we, it doesn't necessarily reference the entire opinion of every member of this board. And we respectfully request that you use the word I rather than we.
I have continually, anywhere I speak, tell anyone who wants to listen that I am one member of this board and one vote, and I speak only for myself. And I've done that repeatedly and often. That puppy won't sell.
I'm saying that the cap levy at a fixed amount rather than a percentage is going to say that if we don't find some additional revenue streams to support not only the money we're giving the library, we're going to see some of the most draconian type of reductions in services in the Kanawha County Schools. And so I think it's a harbinger of things to come that we who serve or should be serving the needs of the public need to talk about not only where is the funding going to come to support the library as the public wants it to be, and the services that we provide as the public wants it to be.
I don't want our library doors to shut. I can't say that we can sit up here and say we support education and we don't support our libraries. But in that sense, I don't know how we're going to do it, and I'm probably going to pass the buck to the man over here to help with that.
I'm here to respectfully ask that you voluntarily continue to fund the library at the level it has enjoyed in the past. And I know we're starting to talk about how that is not possible, but before we talk that way, libraries are an integral part of the educational system. They prepare children for formal education with early literacy programs. They support a child's formal education by offering resources to students, teachers, and schools. And they enhance a child's formal education by providing materials, resources, and spaces for learning outside school hours, particularly during extended breaks in the school calendar. Library salaries are not the only budget items funded with the money through the school board. Reference materials, advanced technology, and programming are valuable assets afforded back to students and taxpayers. However, it is no secret that personnel costs make up a large chunk of any organization's budget. And luckily, the knowledge of a librarian is one of the most precious and yet cost-effective commodities that we have. That's what I don't understand. The library runs within its budget and at a fraction of the cost of some other public institutions. In general, public libraries serve more than 2/3 of the public with less than 2% of all tax dollars. As a mother, I take notice of calls from educators to be more involved in our child's education. And using the library resources with my kids or directing them to seek the counsel of a reference librarian is one of the single best ways that I can do that. They even, as Mike Albert said, have free online tutoring. I feel compelled to mention that the fact that the public library provides access to resources that some kids just can't get anywhere else. You know, everyone thinks we can find everything online, but some kids just don't have computer access. Growing up, I was what they used to call a latchkey kid, and I lived with a single working mother, and the days that I could go to the library after school during middle school and work and study were safer and more productive days for me. I don't advocate libraries as babysitters, but rather as a safe place where students can be engaged by programming and resources. I'm not just here today to ask that you reconsider any decision that diverts funds from the library. I'm here to ask any of you who view the library as anything less than a fundamental piece of our children's education to have a change of heart. An underfunded public library will hurt the students of Kanawha County, while a well-funded public library can only help them. I want to close with a quote by John F. Kennedy, who's the president that you helped get elected, Mr. Thaw. He said, "Good libraries are as essential to an education and informed people as the school system itself. The library is not only the custodian of our cultural heritage, but the key to progress and the advancement of knowledge. With increasing leisure, its resources can enrich the quality of American life." And just one last thing. I tried to make sure I was correct in attributing that to him, because you know, you find quotes all over the internet, but I could not find where he said that. Thankfully, I was able to call the Kanawha County Public Library and speak to a reference librarian who let me know that he said that in a statement released in support of National Library Week in April of 1963. Thank you. And I have a petition with close to 500 names that's been in existence less than 48 hours supporting my request. Thank you.
I'm a lifelong user of the library, and I have two school-age children who use the library system in Kanawha County, and I believe wholeheartedly that it goes hand in hand with a successful education for them. I think that the library services and resources are integral to a well-rounded education, and so when I hear about the school board cutting funding sort of as if they've been giving the library money out of the goodness of their heart, I feel like I need to take a stand and say, you know, it's a symbiotic relationship between the two.